Recently, my good buddy Rob, trucker and redneck extraordinary, decided to drive all the way to Kelowna to do some shopping. Rob's more of a small town kind of guy, and he doesn't always do well driving in what he calls the big city.
Well, then get off the sidewalk while I'm driving on it, you peckerhead!
Having to deal with big city driving often leaves him a little cranky, and this has led to a few unfortunate shopping confrontations in the past. But he does his best to keep calm. Rob visited one store where the staff was less than helpful, but he kept his cool. When he returned home, though, he noticed this on his receipt. By making this purchase, you agree to the Sun City disclaimer. Now, Rob often calls me with legal issues because I once pointed out that if he actually killed his neighbor for blasting Barry Manilow records past 11 p.m. on a work night, that he'd probably go to jail. Rob looked it up, and by God, I was right. So ever since then, I've been his go-to guy for legal advice. So he called me up and explained all this. I was baffled. The store owner actually thought that by putting a disclaimer on a bill of sale after the transaction was complete, it somehow bound the buyer to terms and conditions that weren't disclosed before the sale. I asked Rob if they'd provided or even shown him the terms of the disclaimer, and he said no.
So I can legally shoot him for that, can't I?
He asked. No, I said, but I doubted that it could be legally enforced. Well, Rob had all kinds of ideas about how this should be enforced upon the store owner, legally or otherwise. And after we got done talking, I thought about this store owner and his disclaimer. I mean, who does that? Tries to trick people into accepting new terms after the deal is done. If he's putting that kind of disclaimer in receipts, where else is he putting them? They could be anywhere.
Flowers! Oh, they're lovely! Oh, they smell beautiful! What does the card say? By reading this card, you agree to the terms of the relationship disclaimer?
That's right, honey. I am now legally absolved from having to pay a dinner, put the toilet seat down, or spoon after sex. Plus, you have to do all my laundry. I sure got you, didn't I? And that's when she went bat crap crazy, Your Honor. Most men realize that trying this could only end one way. But apparently in this guy's mind, this is a perfectly legally viable option. Perhaps he thinks there's some historical precedent for this. Maybe it explains a lot of things that happened in the past in his mind.
What do you mean the Israelis have left? All I did was buy one lousy bagel.
Yes, but they gave you a receipt which says you have to agree to the terms and conditions of their disclaimer, one of which was, let my people go. I'm sorry, but the entire legal team agrees. There's just no way out. It's literally carved in stone.
Well, God damn it!
Oh, don't say that.
Or perhaps he thinks that it explains how Longshanks sold Prima Nostra to the Scottish.
Look, lads, I bought one chicken pot pie and some socks from that English king, and look what it says on the receipt. Why, that wee sleek-it timorous cowering beastie. And he's overcharged me 3p.
Of course, the Scots being the Scots, it was actually the 3p that put them over the edge and into rebellion.
They can take our wives, but they can never take our 3p! Charge!
So, just to be safe, if you're planning on spending any money at this store, be sure to write this in tiny letters on all the bills you plan to pay with. By accepting this cash, the merchant agrees to the purchaser's disclaimer agreement. When you've purchased your goods, be sure to point it out to the vendor and give him a copy of your disclaimer agreement. The purchaser does not agree to any disclaimer statements or other terms of the vendor unless it is disclosed before the sale, signed in triplicate in blood and on the night of a full moon, and notarized. The purchaser and the vendor agree that the vendor is a bit of an idiot. The vendor agrees that this is not a historically accurate way of doing business. And, just to be on the safe side, the vendor agrees to Prima Nostra and to let my people go. Or, you know, just shop somewhere else owned by sane people. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go catch a certain redneck before he decides to take matters into his own hands. He was starting to use the words shotgun and enema in the same sentence, and that's never a good sign.